Welcome to Divisive Issues, a foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where we talk about comics. I'm Sly.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Phil.
I'm Darryl.
Here we go, part 2.
We made it, but did Hal Jordan?
No. Last I heard, he exploded on Oa and he's dead.
Oh, well, in comics, I think that means he's permanently dead. So.
Yeah, if there's no
Episode
body, it
over.
means he's definitely dead. That's
Yep.
how it always is in movies and fiction, everything.
So we're continuing our Thanks for Killing My Favorite Characters Giving special
Yeah.
with the second half of Hal Jordan's 90s journey.
Well, like, we're jumping around here, but, this is a very 90s era of comics where there's a lot of crossovers, lots of shit like that. And, like, I don't know if you mentioned last time, but, before, at the end of, we did mention last time because it was the last issue 0, Hal Jordan tries to recreate the universe in 0 Hour. We're not going to read all of 0 Hour because it's a long fucking story with a lot of shit we don't give a shit about. And we're going to jump halfway into another event called The Final Night, which is a much more accessible event. But the first half has nothing to do with Hal Jordan. It's all about how there's basically the sun's getting eaten by
A Sun Eater.
The Sun Eater, yes.
Very inventive.
And alien from a victim. An alien that was a victim of the Sun Eater. She flies around to different planets, saying, "Oh my God, Sun Eater's coming! Please try to flee or something." And when she comes to Earth, people are racist against her, and she learns that, and they blame her like, "You brought the sun here, you piece of shit," because humans are scum.
Yeah, it's kind of like a standard pariah is blamed for the warning. Kind
kill
of
messenger shit.
And it's actually like one of the quieter comic events I've ever read.
But like I said, it's all about her like learning. First thing, humans are pieces of shit because they all blame her for the Sun Eater. But then slowly she sees like all the superheroes and all the good people on the streets in this near apocalyptic times, and she's like, "Oh, humanity's good." But since that has nothing to do with Hal Jordan, we're gonna cut to the part where Hal Jordan comes in, which is Emerald Knight.
Yeah, so there's a one-shot. It's written by Ron Mars, who we talked extensively about last time, and the art's done by Mike McCone. And then we're also going to talk about the last issue of Final Night, which is Carl Kessel and Stuart Immonen.
I like how whenever we try to read a story, you guys are like, you're going to have to read issue 4 of this, and issue 7 of that, and then this one-shot series right here.
To be fair to the medium, comics aren't like that anymore, but at the 90s when comics first started branching out, people started crossing over and shit like that, it was really weird to read comics.
Also, Emerald Knight was in the trade, so it reads like just this issue. Like, it reads like part of it. So, like, if you were reading it at the time, it would be more confusing. But, like, now, if you got the trade, it would have that issue in it. And,
it's more like, I think about how it was originally published, like, scattered across
Yeah,
the
it sucked.
universe.
It really sucked.
It really sucks.
You got, like, at least with reading these comics, it was actually kind of streamlined. There weren't a lot of, the asterisks at the bottom of, like, you need to read this and you need to read this.
Except for the one part where they're like, Mongol's dead. Check out Underworld Unleashed.
What was with that? Because I was like, Mongol seemed like a pretty, major character. He was involved in the destruction of Coast City. And then Hal's like, yeah, he's dead now. I was like, I guess it wasn't important.
One thing to keep in mind is Final Night did come out in 1998, so we have skipped like 3 or 4 years since last episode.
Yeah, a lot of shit happened. Like I said, like,
because even Hal says that he fought with Kyle one more time after the sun blew up, or Oa blew up.
There were 3 more events after, like, major DC events, and Kyle met Hal one more time in a story called Parallax Views. Clever title, but and that was a pretty decent story where Hal fought Kyle, and basically Hal got the ring back, but Kyle basically kept fighting him even after he lost the ring, and basically Hal started beating up all the other superheroes, like Gantfit the Guardian started summoning every single superhero, like Superman. Green Arrow, Flash, Aquaman. You basically something like throwing every superhero at Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan was basically killing all his friends, and he's like, "Wow, I'm a shitty superhero. Here, you can have the ring back." Like he realized, like, I've really gone too far at this point.
So it was like, what was it, Emerald Twilight? Except he didn't kill everyone, and then he was like, "I shouldn't do this."
Yeah, he was like, you realize he's doing Emerald Twilight again, even after he asked for a second chance, basically.
Has he appeared often, like, between those years, or is that, like, one of his only appearances?
They were very sparse, which I think was a good idea, not to spam
definitely.
it. Like, every once in a while he'll show up and be like, you reminded this very tragic story about this guy who once was a hero, now everyone thinks he's a villain, and he murdered all his friends and shit like that.
Yeah, Hal Jordan did nothing wrong. Alright, so Emerald Twilight begins, and it begins with Cyborg Superman flying up to the wall, and he has like this big
what is the wall,
crimson body. Oh, it's Oh, the source. Wait, why are you asking me? I have no idea what.
Because you said the wall. Cybersyn said the wall.
It's a big wall of like these stone people that's protecting the universe from whatever this source is. That these stone guardians have tried to get it, and when they do, they like become part of this big wall.
It's like a bunch of like old gods. Or something.
Like Titans.
The old gods got like trapped trying to go to like God or something. Like...
Yeah, they call it the source, and God actually will be relevant in our retelling because afterlife shit will start coming to play. But yeah, basically it's in space, floating in space, big wall of stone people attached to it, and if you fly past it, you go to God, and if you reach God, you become a stone part of this wall.
Yeah, it's a Jack Kirby concept.
I think it's kind of cool.
I think it's kind of cool too because it's like it's like kind of putting some material fantasy thing into the unknown and just being like, yeah, no one knows what's beyond this, but the biggest creatures throughout the universe that tried to get there all are now just encased here.
Do you know, actually, later on in canon, Kyle Rayner is the only one to ever make it past the wall and come back.
Oh,
so, yeah,
cool.
fun little fact about Green Lantern.
He saw God.
He saw God.
Yeah, Hal Jordan. Anyway, Parallax shows up to see Cyborg Superman, and he's like, I'm going to get vengeance for everyone that died from Coast City. And Cyborg Superman starts shit-talking him. And then he just summons a bunch of, like, all the dead of Coast City, like, their Green Will versions. And they just surround him, and then, like, they combine into a little tiny ball, and he pops it.
I thought this was really, like, you know how I was saying one of my gripes with the original Massacre of the Green Lanterns was it was just so, like, such a lame, like, use of the power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think in the ones we read here, like, the power is used cooler. Like, the fact that you can dream up anything is used more, like the idea that he's not just shooting lasers at first they're shooting lasers at each other, but then he summons, like Darryl said, like, everyone he killed.
Like, yeah, it's like we mentioned in the Twilight episode. The best usage of powers was when you rebuilt Coast City because it's the most imaginative use of his powers, and you get that more often here. Like we said, the dead are back, and they all basically swarm Cyborg Superman, turn him into a ball of green energy, and then Parallax disperses the green energy throughout the cosmos, making sure he never can get rebuilt again.
Then after, Parallax is wondering whether or not he should head for the source since he has, like, nothing left here. And then Kyle shows up, and he gives him the rundown on the Sun Eater, that they have to go back and save the home, and that he's probably the only one that can really help. Since Hal's powers are kind of, like, just magic question mark.
Be God.
Yeah, like, he can do
it really is
anything
crazy how he's just, like, he's just godly now. He's just, like, basically anything that I want to happen, happens. It's like the ultimate Green Lantern power.
Yeah.
Without limits.
Without, charging your battery and being weak to yellow.
So, Hal's thinking about this more, and what he decides to do is he goes and visits everyone that he knew throughout his lifetime. Like, he just appears in front of them to talk to them. So he goes and sees Guy Gardner, who was a Green Lantern, and who is now a warrior, and he's really, like, buff, which I never, at least from when we read Death of Superman stuff, I never pictured Guy being, like, a really strong, like,
they really 90s
man.
him up.
Okay, can I just comics LOL for a second here? So during Zero Hour, you know how he said they retcon, like, weird little things, like Batman never caught Joe Chill and he was an urban hero and everything? Mm-hmm. They also make it where Guy Gardner discovers that he has Voldarian alien DNA and now can make big guns out of his skin.
Yeah, well, because, like, Guy Gardner had his own series at this time, and it probably wasn't doing too well. So they 90s him up to make him more popular with the kids. So they made him even more 90s and made him have guns and fucking tattoos.
Yeah, summoning guns from your arms is pretty 90s.
Yeah,
that's pretty fucking cool, right? I would read that.
Yeah, me too. So Hal,
I hate you guys.
He talks to the guy, and he's asking him about, like, what he does, like, why did he do what he does? I don't know how to phrase this.
Because Guy always was always a hero, and everyone always thought Guy was an asshole. Like we talked about in Superman, he was an asshole, but the guy never gave a shit. He was always like, "I'm a hero, and I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks." And essentially, what tells Hal, like, the reason why I kept doing what I was doing because, like, it was a hero. I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. And Hal's like, that's a good point.
He was specifically saying it's the right thing to do. No, like, if you know it's the right thing to do, it doesn't matter what other people think.
Yeah. You do what you got to do.
Guy Gardner's the best Green Lantern. Fight me, everybody, all our listeners.
Hal Jordan's definitely best.
Yeah, Hal Jordan's
killing everyone is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, but it's killing everyone to rewrite the universe to make it better.
Yeah,
which I sympathize with.
I actually really like. You know how I said his armor looked kind of lame after he turned into Parallax?
Yeah.
I take that back. Like him flying around in this.
I
in
had the
this
same
suit.
opinion. I was like, he actually does look pretty cool compared to everyone else.
Yeah, he's flying around as God, just being like, what will I do with this universe?
I really love Mike McKone's art here. He only
Me
does
too.
this one issue, but I've always been a big fan of his.
I want to say this was the first Green Lantern comic I ever picked up, and the reason why I picked it up was Mike McKone's art.
Huh.
Oh, that's cool.
It is nice looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then afterwards he visits John Stewart, the Black Green Lantern, who is now like he's handicapped, like his legs don't work, and he'll never be able to walk again. And he talks to him, and he basically says like, "Thank you because you were like." It first felt like when I saw you that I had a lot to teach you, but it was the other way around. You were teaching me a lot about things, and
How
then
not to be racist.
Not to be racist.
and then he gives him the ability to walk and then disappears. Which I'm like, I guess that's a fun little fix.
Fun thing to do with your powers, says Darryl.
Well, I was just thinking because I think in like utilitarian terms of like now that he can walk again, I'm like now he can get comics too.
Oh yeah, that is what happens. He gets back into comics.
And then afterwards, he goes and visits Pieface.
No, first he visits the grave of Oliver Queen. Green Arrow.
Green Arrow, yeah.
That's a good textless page.
Yeah,
where it's
I
just
agree.
him
Yeah, I
dropping
like that
down
a
the
lot.
roses for him.
I actually didn't know who Oliver Queen was, but I'm like, this whole scene actually, all these scenes, I'm like, I don't know a lot of these characters very well, but I could imagine if I was a Green Lantern fan, really being taken by a lot of these because they're effective even when you don't really know the characters.
Yeah, and you'd want to see him go and see everyone that he knew.
Fun fact about this powerful textless scene of Hal Jordan.
Are you gonna mention the fucking Green Arrow #1?
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
fuck you.
so Hal Jordan puts roses on Oliver Queen Green Arrow's grave and just like fades away and it's just like a shot of the tombstone by itself. And then Kevin Smith took this and said, "Oh, but what really happened was he was reviving Green Arrow but he didn't give him his mind back. So Green Arrow claws his way out of a grave as a crazy bearded hobo
This
guy."
crazy zombie guy. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Kevin Smith podcast.
Kevin Smith is a great writer, and that's a good story.
And then after he visits Pieface, who is like he said that he would be his like Pieface is like his squire, his Santo to his.
All right. Darryl keeps calling him Pieface, which was his original name, but his actual name is Tom Kalmalko, and they stopped calling him Pieface at this point.
Because it's a racist term because he's an Eskimo.
Oh, I thought it was like a pizza face, like
No,
a joke
because
about
60s comic writers are racist.
Yeah, so he was his like sidekick that he was the only one who knew who Green Lantern was, and he would always be like, "Jumping fish hooks, Green Lantern. This is so cool.
And
Tell
that's
me
why
about your
he's talking about
adventures."
fish hooks.
Yeah.
See, I actually had a different I know Darryl his vision of Pieface was really, or his view of Pieface was not very good, but I think because I had heard Ryan tell me about him before, I knew who he was already. I knew about the racial stuff. And I knew about him being like his sidekick.
I didn't know anything. I was just ignorant.
Yeah, this was we'll get into it, but this is a story of Pieface being elevated from a racist stereotype psychic to like an actual character.
I like that Darryl said I was just being ignorant by not realizing that this was racist.
It's true. So he goes and talks to him, and Tom's really excited because he I knew they weren't lying about you being parallax and everything, and I've been writing a book about
They weren't lying about you being parallax?
I mean, they were lying about you being parallax.
I knew you were parallax, you scum, I hate you.
He has like 100% faith in him, where everyone else is like, "Fuck you, Hal Jordan, you killed all the Green Lanterns." Tom is just like, "Hey, I knew you'd come back one day. You're great." Yeah.
Yeah, and Hal feels bad because he's like, Tom deserves better than what I could give him.
Yeah. And he wants to give him a good ending for the book he's writing.
Yeah, he even says, "I'm writing a book. I'm going to tell everyone what kind of hero you are," or something like that. And he's like, "I'm going to try to actually give you a good ending for this." Like, it's like obvious here. He's like, "I need to do good for the people who look up to me."
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he leaves, and then he goes and sees his ex, Carol Ferris. And I like that he appears in front of her, and then it's like, "Hey, would you want to hook up again? Like, would you just want to leave this universe? Because I can do that. I'm God." And she's like, "Come on, you know better." And he's like, "I'm sorry."
I also like that she's the only one that really knew he was coming. Like she sees him and she's like, "Oh, here you are."
I thought that was cheesy because she has her back to him, and he appears silently, and she's like, "I know you're here."
I like that. I like that she knew him well enough that he would try to do something.
I think she could have said like, "I knew you'd be coming," rather than like,
I
know
wondered
you're here."
When
the
you'd be
ninja
showing
sense.
It's a little cliche, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, I am a sucker for this kind of stuff.
Yep, and then they kiss one last time, and then he disappears mid-kiss, which is a dick move. Just gonna say.
Dick move, Hal.
Can't you just wait like 30 more seconds?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
30-second kiss, normal, right?
5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes and visits the ruins of Coast City, where he confronts one of the little Blue Guardian dudes who just appears. And it's
Out
like
of his
He absorbed
body?
his power in that
Yeah,
last
okay.
story.
He's like inside him, right?
Yeah.
In the story I mentioned where Ganthet kept sending all the heroes after him, basically because Kyle, he knew, Ganthet realized none of the superheroes can stop Hal Jordan. Kyle can't stop him. He's a fucking scrub. I'll give my green energy, my entire being, the energy inside of me to Hal so he can leave the ring alone. That's basically what happened. So he absorbed Ganthet. This is where to reveal that Ganthet's no longer dead. He's been just inside Hal this entire time, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
this just sounds like comic book magic.
Yeah.
It is comic magic. Oh wow, it sounds like comic magic. It is comic magic.
Yeah, which is what a lot of this gets into, which is why I'm not like super huge on the logistics of the story, because it relies on Hal's powers that he can do anything he wants, and stuff like we're gonna get into Last Will and Testament is that it's a lot of like whatever goes, and you just gotta roll with it. So he talks to Ganthet about the Guardians, and that Ganthet apologizes for the Guardians, but he's like, we did what we thought was right. Like, we were too hard on you, but we had these, like, rules for a reason and everything.
It turns out, in hindsight, the rules that led to everyone dying, not the best.
He says, like, the fact we didn't cause your actions, but our strict rules helped lead to them, and so we're at least partially to blame because of that, which I think is interesting.
Yep, he offers Hal his ring back, but Hal says he doesn't need it anymore.
Ganthet just blows up.
He does.
He's like, you don't need it? Bye.
I thought he just teleport away, but...
Yeah, I think he teleports away.
There's like a whole crater in the ground where he was.
No, that crater's there from Coast City. That's the Coast City crater.
No, it's smoking.
Whatever.
Nightcrawler's smoking after Nightcrawler teleports too. It means dead.
You seriously thought that when Phil said he died, he created the Coast City crater?
No, just a
That little
hole.
blue guy?
No, because there's a crater in the ground.
No, but Slot was
Whatever.
like, that was...
That's a Coast City crater.
Okay.
Okay, alright. Anyway, Ganthet blows himself up and then...
He creates the Coast City.
He destroys Coast City. Ganthet destroys Coast City. We established that.
Okay, and then Hal summons Kyle to him. And then he says, I'm gonna help you fix this.
Yeah. And that ends the final Emerald.
I also have to say about his costume, I like how he has like gray hair on the side of his head.
Me too.
I'm such a big fan of the Mitt Romney look.
Yeah.
When they retcon most of these stories, they got rid of that and they made him look like fucking Ryan. We'll talk about this later, but they made him look young and act young again, and I hate that. But yeah,
Because he looks like,
Yeah.
you know,
Why-
he's
why?
taking on this. Yeah,
Like,
he's
he's
taking
all-
on this like I'm a god now. I've done all this crazy shit. Of course, he's gonna look more weathered than he
Well,
did.
because
as-
when they brought him back from the dead, they made him back like to the hotshot pilot, devil may care guy.
yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. Let's
Devil May
keep
Cry.
going.
Looks like Reed
Even though I'm a
Richards.
huge fan of all that stuff, this like
You're a fan of the Run, but you're not a fan of that Hal, are you?
yeah, exactly. The books are really good, but I much more like the like older, wiser Hal.
So Final Night. Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
so Final Night, number 4. So Kyle, after he meets up with Parallax,
This is the first meeting after Hal rejected him the first time.
yeah, so now he goes back to the JLA.
and the world is. I don't know if we said like if we really explained the world's ending and every scene you see is like just covered in snow. There's no sun. Like the world will just freeze to death.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's a kind of cool apocalypse scenario because it's like it's one that could like suns do die, you know.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
Also, it's an event that the heroes can't do anything about. Like Superman can't punch the sun into a reigniter.
Right, it's not like a big monster. Well, it is.
It is a
kind of
big monster.
but it's this like ethereal like thing that's like just killing the sun and like you
Well,
can't
the
fight.
big monster kills the sun and then leaves. Like that the sun is just dead now. And like the reason why I like this event so much is because they keep trying different things and they just keep not working. Like it's not like you guys said, you can't just punch the sun so it wakes up.
So what are some of these things they try, Brian?
So like Kyle went to the sun and tried to reignite it himself, but he wasn't good enough. Like, his Green Lantern ring couldn't do it. Lex Luthor says the sun is going to go supernova because it's, like, recovering. And he has all these sciencey things. He has these force field devices that he has, like, 1 million of them, that he wants to put it around the sun so that when the sun goes supernova, it absorbs the energy and turns into a force field.
So it gets, like, reflected back of the sun and re-energizes it.
Yeah, and he basically says somebody has to be on the ship to, like, set the devices up, and it'll be a suicide mission. And I love Luthor in this scene because they're like, well, why don't you do it? And he's like, I couldn't do it. I made it. I'm not gonna go die.
Even more than that, he's like, I'm not doing any piece of shit. I'm not gonna die up there. So screaming at them, and they're like,
he spends all this time and energy making up this plan to make himself survive, and he's like, I'm gonna go fucking die to do
I'm not
this
gonna fucking die to this shit. And then
Yeah.
all the heroes are just looking at him grimly, and they're like, it's very human of you, Luthor, which I think is a very cool scene.
Yeah. So basically, Luthor picks Kyle to do it because he's like, oh, you went to the sun before and it was fine, so do it. And then Kyle's just like, never mind, bye. So that's why he went to go get Hal, because he doesn't want to die.
No, he vanishes against his will. Because
Yeah, Hal takes him.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
They're like, you do it.
So-
He's like, oh.
Yeah. Superman offers, even though Superman's powerless because he's powered by the sun and there's no sun.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until they said it. Like, I was like, Superman could just fucking go fly these things around there. But no sun, no power, I get it.
Yeah, and then we talked about this a little bit like a year ago, but all the Legion of Superheroes are here, which are all the worst characters, and Feral Lad does it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Basically, Superman
Feral
offers to
Lad.
do it, and he's like writing his goodbye letter to Lois. But as he's doing so, Feral Lad takes to say, "No, Superman's too important. I can die because nobody gives a shit
I
about
thought
me."
this was kind
Literally,
of cool because like it's like you don't even know that like Superman took off already. That's crazy. And they're like, contact him. And then someone goes to contact him, and she's like, it's not him. And then it cuts to this fucking guy who's wearing like. How would you describe that mask? It's like not even just armor. It's like
it looks like Iron Man. The Iron Man one in Iron Man movie. His first costume, just a helmet.
That he built in a cave with scraps?
Yeah, exactly. That one.
And he's like, Superman's way more important than I am. He needs to live on.
And that's why that's the reason why I think this is like an event that I don't mind it being like a bunch of characters you don't know, because they play on it. Like, you don't know who Feral Lad is, so he's killing himself, so you shouldn't give a shit about him. If
What I kind of like about it is that they're specifically mentioning that he's like young and reckless. Yeah. And so he's embodying that kind of the go get it mentality of the superheroes, where it's like, I'll do this, I'll step up and take this burden upon my shoulders like all my great other superheroes do.
Yeah.
But actually, my favorite thing about Feral Lad is that he needs to give some girl back a ring.
Yeah.
And as he goes to the sun and he dies, that's his last thought. It's like, how pure of him.
Yeah.
Basically, the device doesn't work. Like, it's like the ship's falling apart, the device is not working, and Feral Lad's like, shit, I give her back her ring.
Yeah.
But then Hal shows.
So then Hal shows up and he's like, I'm here to help. And Batman's like, fuck
Well,
you.
he says, I know how important rings are, kid. And he gives him back the ring.
Yeah. So he saves Feral Lad, he sends him back home, he gives him the ring, and then he lands on Earth, and he's like, I'm here to help, don't worry, I'm Hal Jordan, superhero. And Batman's
Hal's giant in the scene he shows up in.
Yeah.
Like, he's like huge. He's the size of the sun.
Yeah, and Batman is such an asshole to him because he's like, no, you're a murderer. You can't just show up. We're not going to fucking trust you. And Superman's like, no, he's probably a good guy now. And Batman's like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, and then Hal goes and he absorbs the Sun Eater, reignites the whole sun.
It's a pretty cool scene too. Like like I said, he literally is standing on the sun basically as a giant man holding little Feral Lad in his hand.
Yeah.
And I like when Batman's like, oh, you're probably going to reignite the sun and then try to be God and kill everybody again, aren't you asshole?
Yeah.
And so he stands on the sun and he's like absorbing this evil thing and reigniting it, and he's saying the Green Lantern oath.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I was like, I'm. This is why I sent that text to you, because I said in the message I was sending that text to you, because I was like, this and the next one, I'm like, I need Green Lantern recommendations. Like, I want to read more Green Lantern after this.
So then he reignites the sun and everyone's so happy, and it just ends with Superman and Batman's being like,
we should mention that Hal's like gone, that they said
He's
like
dead.
we can't
yeah.
detect his life signs anymore.
He's
Yeah,
dead. Well, since it's DC and there's gods and stuff in there, he's not fully dead.
Yeah.
But he's dead by like.
He basically comes back as the Grim
He's
Reaper.
dead like how when Oa blew up and he died.
But this is more even more so that because now he's basically God's servant on Earth, like as punishment for being evil.
Well, yeah,
he gets sent as God's angel on Earth. But before we get to that, Batman and Superman are arguing on top of the Daily Planet, and Batman says Hal didn't change. He said it himself. He didn't change because Hal says like I was doing the right thing. I was trying to save the world even before he killed himself. And Superman says that sometimes people don't notice when they change. So, and I actually really like that scene. It shows like Batman and Superman in a nutshell, where Batman's like, "Oh, you people are scum," and Superman's like, "Oh, people are good. Like they can change and be better."
But I also like that it ends on the note of like Superman saying like he did like a great thing at the end where he saved all of us, and then Batman, as he goes away with the last word, he says, "Yeah, if only he had lived as he died."
Yeah.
I think that's so good. I really do.
Yeah, I like this whole scene, like him reigniting the sun, the explosion, people looking up at this like green sun as the thing happens, and then seeing all around the world people cheering for this being saved, and then this last dialogue between those two is a great way to bookend this.
Well, it's also just I like the idea of like Superman and Batman analyzing another like hero's motives and them just showing like Superman's optimism versus Batman's pessimism kind of a thing.
Yeah, Batman even says, "Don't make a martyr out of a murderer, Superman."
Yeah,
and it's like he's right. He's a fucking murderer,
yeah.
But he saved everyone. So it's like you have to, it's a good dialogue to have. Like, how should someone like that be remembered?
And the way they redeem him is, and this is a recommendation that I have for everybody, even though it's never been collected, he becomes, like, they find him in the afterlife, and he becomes the host of the Spectre, who's, like, God's wrath of vengeance on Earth. And Hal turns it into the wrath of, into the, like, not wrath, but, like, the God's redemption, because it's basically revealed in his Spectre series that because Hal's a big murderer, the alien that died to give him the ring is burning in hell forever until Hal redeems himself. Because
the pink alien from the movie.
Yeah.
The alien that died to give Hal the ring gave the ring to a murderer. So until Hal redeems himself through like religion, he has to deal with his spirit being in hell.
God's kind of
what?
That's just weird.
It's awesome.
This is strange.
But anyway, we're not talking about that stuff, but it's really good. So the story we are talking about is Green Lantern Legacy: Last Will and Testament of Hal Jordan by Joe Kelly.
Which is a pretty mouthful of a title.
Yeah. And it was written by Joe Kelly, Brent Anderson penciled it, and Bill Sienkiewicz is the inker. And the thing that I want to point out is this actually, we don't often talk about standalone graphic novels, but this wasn't released in single issues. It was just released as a whole trade, all at once.
Yeah.
And, I think it reads like that. It's not as episodic as most of the stuff we talk about on this show.
We also mentioned Joe Kelly is a really good writer. He's if you like Deadpool, Deadpool is pretty much good thanks to Joe Kelly because Deadpool was created by Rob Liefeld, and he was pretty much Spider-Man of guns. And Joe Kelly basically introduced a lot of his supporting cast. If you watch the movie, a lot of the supporting cast would be with Joe Kelly. He introduced his humor, and he made him actually an emotionally rich character. So Deadpool is pretty much Joe Kelly's creation.
I don't like his dialogue that much. Joe Kelly's stuff.
We disagree.
He wrote my favorite Superman story. Joe Kelly.
Yeah, mine too. My favorite Superman story too.
You don't like the narration either, or is it just the dialogue?
Just mostly the dialogue. Like there's a couple points where he says something, and I feel like there's an easier way to get this message across that's not as confusing. And there's a couple like jokes in there that like kind of went over. I don't know if it went over my head or I just didn't understand it well.
Well, let's
get into the meat and potatoes and talk about that.
So it starts off with just like a few really big splash pages of the ring, the what is it, the battery or whatever that thing's called.
Yeah. It's called the Lantern.
Okay, the Lantern.
That's
and it's giving in each page part of the Green Lantern speech, Brightest Day and Blackest Night, and you see in the past like Hal Jordan fighting Sinestro in the city, and as the speech is going, then the next scene is just him crying as there's dead people all over where the battle happened, which is I think a really cool introduction to Green Lantern. How he's not just like I was just a bad guy at the end. It's like he sacrificed a lot to try to be a hero and didn't always succeed. And then we open up with our main character for this story, Pieface, or Tom Kalmaku. And he's basically at a bar just drunk saying, Green Lantern's a fucking coward.
Well,
Piece of
first
shit.
it opens with his speech at the funeral.
Oh yeah, it's important.
And he's like, remember Hal that way. Remember him as a hero. And then he starts crying and he goes, because they don't give nice funerals for murderous cowards like Hal Jordan. And then the guys at the bar are like, you didn't say that. You're just a wimp.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't say that. He's basically drunk and like regretting all the good things he ever said about Hal. And he's like, oh yeah, at his funeral I totally told him to fuck off. Fuck that piece of shit.
I like this joke a lot where he's like, I couldn't take it, so I paid my respects. He's powerless against Yellow, and it's implied that he like pissed on his grave.
Yeah, and he's pouring beer as he does it too, which is also yellow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's basically shit-talking Green Lantern at this bar and saying how he's a piece of shit and, doesn't deserve any respect and whatever. And then some guy who has a Green Lantern tattoo on his fist punches him in the face and throws him out. And then he gets driven home by a cop?
But it's actually Hal?
Question mark?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get a lot of flashbacks about this whole story, which I really liked because one of the things I liked about this story in general was that I didn't know. I had some context for who Tom Kamaku was from hearing Ryan talk about Green Lantern for years, but I didn't know. The flashbacks are really effective at telling you or showing you how much of a relationship they had without having known the character actually. It's constantly it's Hal Jordan being killed by a big yellow spider, and then him flying in and saving Hal by bringing him his lantern.
It makes it more self-contained. You don't have to know Green Lantern as much to appreciate their relationship because you get some samples of it.
And they lean into a lot of the innocent Silver Agey stuff. Where he beats the big spider by throwing rocks at him until Hal charges.
What I'm wondering is because later on they do a flashback of when he fights Mongul, and the writing I thought was very I think it's all taken from the comics that these scenes are taken from, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
there are a few flashbacks that are specifically actual things happening in real time. Some of them are just Tom being drunk and remembering them, and some of them are actual stuff happening in the current moment being delivered to Tom's brain, that moment.
But I'm saying, I think the writer specifically took dialogue from previous comics.
But not all of them. Not all of them. Only the ones that are delivered to his brain, that one you mentioned, the one from.
But not this spider one.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think that ever happened.
It still shows this. Even if they didn't happen, if you just make up, because you can assume throughout in between the comics, there's just guys he's fighting and Tom helping him out. And you see, they had a good, he looked up to him so much. He calls him, the Emerald Avenger, and you could see him writing his book in the past. And now it's just him drooling on this book that he's given up because now he's a drunk.
Yeah, because in the Silver Age, he would journal all of Hal's adventures. That was, his role as, the sidekick. And so, sometimes Hal would be like, oh, what an adventure I had. And that would be the framing device for him to be like, tell me so I can put it in my journal.
Yeah.
And so he's sleeping, he's drunkenly drooling all over this journal now, and you hear it as answering machine, his wife and saying, the kids miss you, I still love you, and he's angry, he just throws the phone, breaks it. And
Do you know the first issue where Tom met his wife? Hal fell asleep and had a dream that Tom was a seagull, and because he was wearing his ring, he turned Tom into a seagull.
Well, I don't want to read Green Lantern anymore.
Yeah,
I'm done with that.
Ryan heard Phil say, I want to read comics, and Ryan's like, no, you don't. You won't. I'm going to bring up examples until you stop, Phil. Stop it right now.
So Tom is just basically, you just watch him being a drunk and losing everything in his life. He apparently is estranged from the wife and kids now. He loses his job because he just fucks up being
He's so drunk. He's drunk at work and stuff like that. He can't do work anymore.
Yeah. And some guy shows up at his house and is like, hey, I'm the executor for Hal Jordan's will. And Tom's like, no, that already happened. And he's like, this is the secret will that superheroes are complicated. And he's like, all right. And he's like, here's what I'm giving you. It's a child.
Yeah.
And it's apparently Hal Jordan's 8-year-old kid. And there's just a note that says from Hal Jordan, fix it. To Tom. And for those who don't know, Tom is his sidekick, but also a mechanic. So because Hal was a fighter pilot, he's his mechanic sidekick who fixes all of his problems, which is a big theme throughout this whole story. Is how even in these little issues where he's stuck with the giant spider or whatever, it's Tom is there to fix it when Hal needs it. He brings the battery to charge his ring. So now he needs to somehow fix this situation with this little child, Hal Jordan, who also has the gray streak.
Yeah, the gray streak.
It's okay.
Yeah, he really looks just like Hal Jordan shrunk down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want this. So he goes to Cal Ferris and he's like, can you take this kid? And then
I mean, you dated, you should have him. And
yeah, Carol's like, were we getting back together at the time? Is this possibly my child? Well, she would know it's not his child.
No, I didn't. I didn't take it that way. I think she would know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's magic.
Yeah, in Magic World, you can never know if it's.
Yeah, Green Lantern.
That would definitely happen.
Like seahorses, male Green Lanterns carry the child.
And the kid's asking too. It's like, are you mad at me? And she's like, no. Why would I be mad at you?
And as this is happening, this big yellow like alien creature. It looks like the way it's drawn. It's really cool. It's like
it's got like runes all over it. If it's like a big black creature with like a yellow outline around it and just like runes written with a Green Lantern symbol in the middle, and it wields a scythe.
If anyone's played any of the Prince of Persia games, it looks just like the Dahaka.
Oh
kinda.
yeah. And it shows up and basically just starts attacking the house. And Marty hands Tom something, and then Tom blacks out and just remembers another flashback.
This is one of the memories I mentioned that he gets forced onto him. And
Yeah, he's remembering Hal as he fought Mongol, and then when they wake up, the creature's gone, and in Tom's hand is a Green Lantern ring.
Yeah, Marty handed him a Green Lantern ring.
Yep. So Tom's like, "Fuck this." He goes to the Justice League and he's like, "Take this kid from me."
Yeah.
And then
The Justice League wants the ring handed to them because they're like, we have no idea how Hal's illegitimate child got the ring, but this is like one of the most powerful weapons in the universe, so it should be with us.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like thematically about this book is basically everyone talks down to Tom the whole time, where like Batman's like, we don't have to ask, this is a courtesy, know that. And like all the superheroes view him as just like Hal's little sidekick, and yet in the flashbacks Hal's the only one that talks to him like a friend.
Yeah. No, everyone talks to Tom like he doesn't matter, because in the comics they wrote him like he doesn't matter.
Also worth noting that what's kind of cool is in the flashback where Hal's fighting Mongol, like when he wakes up, he's in the same position like Hal was in, like punching with his green armor on.
Yeah.
So you can assume like maybe he's doing that stuff in real life, whatever, parallels.
Yeah.
So the Justice League's like, yeah, just give us the ring, and Marty's like, teleporting us to the moon or something, right?
He just takes us to another part of the base, but then later on he teleports him somewhere else. Forget.
Yeah. So, there's another flashback where Tom is talking to Hal, and he's like, I want to come with you, and he's like, this is Green Lantern Corps business.
He's basically he's going on a mission to Green Lantern Corps.
And he wants to be with them, and he's like, can I ever join the Corps with you? And that brings us back to present time when he's with Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's when he gets teleported.
that's when he gets teleported.
Yeah.
Basically, Marty, the kid, is like, I don't like the Justice League. I don't want to be with them. What did the note say that my dad left? And Tom's like, it says fix it. And Marty says, you need to fix it because, he was going to pick you as the next Green Lantern. Like, how whoever picks whoever, Hal would.
We'll reveal that later, but here they reveal that he picked him to take care of the estate. But later on, they do reveal that yes, he was Hal's choice for next Green Lantern.
So Tom goes to the old Green Lanterns, and they laugh at him, like Ryan was saying. Like,
Well, only God asks him because guy's a dick, and he's not the greatest Lantern. He sucks ass, and he says, "Oh, you're a piece of shit. You're a shitty character. Who pie face? What kind of name is that? Fuck you, Tom Calmato." And then
give the kid up to the Justice League. Eat shit.
And again, they're like, this is superhero business. It's not for some pleb like you.
Yeah. And then the scythe creature keeps showing up, and then the Green Lanterns are all fighting him. Guy is shooting his red gun arms at him.
Yeah.
And he rips off the guy's arm, I think. And then they're like, we're out of here. Marty gives Tom the ring again, and Tom flashes back to the time when Hal offered him the ring, but he was too scared to try it. And they teleport away or something.
they actually reveal that Tom ran away, and Marty's like, the kid's like, "Why you ran away, you fucking or you cowards?"
Yeah, he calls him a coward, and he's like, my dad never would have run away. You're just a baby. Like, he always ran into danger like a real hero. I think he teleported away. That's like Tom teleported, and that's why when you start to see these people walk out of the house of the backyard.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's Tom's kids, and he's like, I gotta disappear because I'm.
Yeah, I gotta run away again.
The thing I like about the scene a lot is the kid Marty doesn't know that like about Parallax. He's just like, I'm Green Lantern's kid. Like,
he was
he's
so
a hero.
brave. He never. Yeah, he was only ever a hero. He's the bravest, smartest guy ever.
And this is so they start arguing, and this is when Tom's like, I'm stupid, you're right, I'm a damn idiot for letting Jordan run me around on yet another mission after what he did. Let me tell you about your brave and brilliant father, the traitor, the murderer. And it's the traitor, the murderer. And it's like a 3-page full page spread of just like all of
yeah.
of Emerald Twilight.
I did
recapped in,
I did like those pages. I'm not really keen on the art for this book either, but
Really?
I really liked that splash. Yeah.
I like
There's a part where they show Tom and Marty talking to each other, and I couldn't determine which face was which. Like it's the way he draws the children isn't very like childlike. Like he does too much shading and embellishment on their facial features rather than making it round.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Like it makes the children look like little men.
I've always had that. Comics always have that problem. I've noticed.
Yeah. So yeah, then as Phil said, this is where it's revealed that the place the place that Tom teleported them to without thinking is his kid's house, and he's like, we gotta get out of here, and he teleports away, and the kids are just like, Dad?
Yeah. It's sad. It really is sad too, especially because it's like, I think I'm always kind of a sucker for the story where you're following the guy who's just like really just giving up on everything, he's just like, everything is terrible. My hero is actually a mass murderer. And then you have this kid who's like trying to be like, no, but there's good. Like, we gotta be heroes like my dad was. And he's like, no, like, life is terrible. And you even see in scenes like this where you can see he's so broken that he's like running from his own kids. Like, he can't even face them.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty effective.
Yeah.
Is that why you like me and Sly so much?
Yeah, exactly. I like seeing you guys just being like the broken dregs of society. So we flash back to when Coast City was burning, and Hal fights with Green Arrow because Hal was helping like the well-off neighborhoods, and Hal's like, why would we help the slums, because they're the ones who started the fires in the first place.
Yeah, they're like protesting, and then fires broke out. Like maybe they did something wrong or threw like Molotov cocktails, and now their houses are burning down.
This is very much an homage to the Green Arrow, Green Lantern era we briefly talked about with when Jon Stewart was introduced, where everyone can point out how Hal Jordan's a racist. So it's very much in tune to when Hal realized there's societal problems that are simpler than just good and evil and shit like that, and I should stop being so judgmental.
And it's cool because like he's like, why should I help them? And he's like, because you're Green Lantern. Green Lantern doesn't hold people's mistakes against them if somebody needs their help.
Yeah, Tom says that. Yeah. Tom says that comes out. And he's like, you should save them, Hal. And Hal's like, okay, I will.
Yeah, and the fires are getting worse, and it's like this is what you do. Like, you have to be a hero, and he does because of Tom, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
and then Tom's like, yeah, Hal fixed things on Earth by fixing the sun, but not everywhere. So let's go meet the Green Lanterns who are still alive, and none of them have rings anymore, and
so these are all the lanterns that he left in space during Emerald Twilight, except for Tomar 2, who he actually did kill.
Well, until they revealed that he didn't. And also
but in the context of this story.
And also this gets retconned that all these people were actually... Basically what happens, bullshit retcon, revealed after Hal, quote-unquote, killed the Green Lanterns, bad guys came in immediately and snatched up all the Green Lanterns and put them into hibernation for like 10 years or whatever. Yeah. And all these Green Lanterns here were part of that retcon, by the way. So that means they fucked up because these Green Lanterns are retconned into being part of that group that was put into hibernation.
Yeah. I mean, for the record, the only one who's actually from Emerald Twilight is Budokai. Everybody else are just like, this one looks like a tiger, but this guy looks like an elephant. Yeah. Like, I think the implication is just these were some Green Lanterns somewhere else that were
but Budokai was part of the...
But except for Budokai...
And she says when she woke herself, like, oh, what happened to my hand? Hal Jordan cut her off. Well, here she's living like, Hal Jordan cut my hand. I want to fucking kill that guy, like, for years.
Yeah.
So they fucked that up.
And when she's talking to Marty, he's like, I could use the ring to give you a new hand. And she said, and then I'd cut it right off and strangle you with it.
Yeah, I love that, actually. And so they're standing around this Tomar 2, like, memorial statue. And they're like, fuck Hal. And some of them are like, maybe we should help Marty atone for Hal's sins. And Budokai's like, yeah, fuck off. I'm not being part of this.
Yeah, so only a small segment goes with Marty, and they take him to a planet that has an energy problem, and like, oh, can you use your...
It's Tomar 2's planet, and they basically said when he died, the whole planet fell to shit.
Yeah, so like, it fell 4,000 years behind where it currently was, which is like, I don't know if that would happen when one man dies in the... Like,
well, it's a man with a green energy ring that can make magic happen, so I think losing that as a...
That still seems egregious.
No, but like, it depends how much...
It's like, would you not plan accordingly in case he dies?
I don't think they probably didn't plan for all the Green Lanterns as a whole to stop existing. They probably planned for the ring to be passed on eventually, you know, and they probably based too much of the infrastructure around Green Lantern. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would make sense to be like 200 years, but 4,000.
Sure, but I think it makes sense that if there's a Green Lantern, people are always going to be too comfortable and build their infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so now when Green Lantern stops existing, like as a whole, as a concept, now they're like, what the fuck do we do? But anyway, it's a trap. Actually, they want the Scythe creature to kill Marty.
Isn't it
revealed that all those people that, like, all the Green Lanterns that were abandoned use, like, black magic to resurrect Kilowog.
Yeah.
Yep.
To, like, destroy all traces of Hal Jordan.
From the galaxy, which is pretty cool. It's like blood magic, like blood. But we want to make sure to wipe all of existence from.
This is where I was like, I was kind of interested in, what was it? Like, they refer to it like the Death Lantern or whatever. I was kind of interested in knowing what it was, and then they were just like, it's vengeance.
That's awesome. It's a spirit of vengeance from all the lanterns.
How is that
I think
awesome?
that's cool.
When
I think
it's fucking awesome. He has a scythe. He's
God.
black with wounds all over him. It's fucking badass.
Do you not like spirits of vengeance in fiction?
I do, but when you're trying to be in a universe where, like, a lot of things, like, make sense or interlock with each other,
They don't
make sense.
There's fucking gods and angels and shit.
There's Green Lanterns.
I'm gonna hold you assholes accountable for every comic we read after this now.
No.
Things don't make sense. There's gods.
Like you always like, I excuse everything now.
I am usually Mr. Logistics over here. Like, how would that work? But it's like once a sci-fi or fantasy thing hits a certain level of craziness, like if Parallax just can be Magic Man, I at that point I'm like, well, things can just happen.
But you can reason it out that he walked into the lantern, he absorbed all the energy from there, and everything's dictated by his will. So if he wills it strong enough, it becomes reality. Whereas they're just like, we just summoned up this dead guy.
But in the world where God exists and angels exist, why would using black arcs to make a spirit of vengeance, using the best friend of the betrayer?
Because
that's
he
like
knows
badass
him.
Fucking like anime shit going on. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's anime where, like, I can sit there and be like, well, this is, there's excuses I can make for this. Or I didn't expect to have to make excuses here for this.
I expected better of you, Green Lantern. I don't make excuses for you.
I did.
I think this is very cool, but I do want to defend Darryl a little bit here because Green Lantern has always been a sci-fi concept. So in the Golden Age, Green Lantern was a magic character. And then when they reinvented Hal Jordan Green Lantern has always been sci-fi, and it's always been sci-fi. And I do understand the jarringness of, like, this has been sci-fi for 40 years, but now we'll just throw in a little bit of magic. I get that especially because this book is supposed to be like a vignette recap of Hal Jordan's entire life. I understand why that is jarring.
But they tap together the arcane arts of 100 worlds. Like,
I still think it's really cool, but I understand that critique for sure.
Okay. I can see that, I guess. I just, like, for me, like, when, like, this whole story has been so crazy with, like, comic stuff that I'm like, is this the thing that I'm gonna be like, this is unbelievable? Everything else is believable and not this.
Yeah, I don't think it's unbelievable, but I do think it's a tone shift that isn't perfect.
For the other stuff, it feels like you could have an explanation behind it, whereas, like, this is just like it's them literally saying, like, it's blood magic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so they teleport away from the spirit demon thing. Mario remembers now what he actually is. He's actually the spirit of Hal's ring given form, which is weird, but the GLA come up and explain it further. They say, basically after Hal died, his ring had no direction anymore. It was just like this powerful entity, just nothing to do.
Yeah, so Hal had so much power that it became sentient.
Yeah, and it had, it basically was feeding off Hal's dying wishes, and the reason why Tom kept flashing back stuff was because it started feeding off Tom's mind as well.
Wait, can I just say before we continue, when the JLA comes to explain this, who is that man with his face smushed into
Plastic Man!
Oh, Plastic Man. Plastic Man is like this goofy Golden Age character who, one of the first, like, not one of the first, but like one of the biggest comedy superheroes of the Golden Age, and
It really ruined the seriousness of the scene to me when you have the Justice League flying in to say he's the ring given power, given shape, and there's just this guy whose face is smushed into the floor.
That's kind of awesome because, like, maybe it's because I love Plastic Man, but because Justice League is usually very serious, very dry, like, material. So whenever Plastic Man shows up and like while Batman's being like, we have to save the day, and Superman's like arguing the good of man is all that matters, and then Plastic comes down and is like, I'm gonna make fart noises. I always like that levity.
I love Plastic Man a lot, and the irony here is that he's super goofy throughout this book, but in Joe Kelly's Justice League, which he was writing at the time, he like really told some super serious stories about Plastic Man and his like commitment issues and like
and Plastic Man has a dark history. Like he was a fucking ex-con who died and was reborn as plastic shit. Like
yeah, and like
like
he has like a
character.
son that he abandoned, and like Joe Kelly tells all these serious stories with him. So I think he just had the soft spot where he felt like he had to include him, but didn't have a role for him, so he just had him like smush his face against stuff.
Yeah, okay. I like Plastic Man. Like
all right, it's fine. Because even though like I thought that was kind of silly, this next scene is my favorite fight of the whole.
Yes,
it's like
so the GLA explain everything to him, and they say, "Now give us the ring so we can protect it." And then Tom, he's flashing back again, but this time he's flashing back to when he was talking to Hal, saying, "Hey, Hal, how would you beat the GLA?" And as he's talking to Hal about how he'll beat the GLA, he starts acting it out in real life, like take out Batman first, and he attaches like
a rocket to him, and he's tied to it.
Yeah, rocket to him.
It's so cool, like how he's since Marty or whatever is this green energy, like anything that Tom thinks while holding him, he can make happen too.
Yeah.
So like as he's going through the scene, it's like, the first thing I concern myself with is defense, and you see Flash and Martian Manhunter just smash into Flash smash into the shield, and Martian Manhunter can't go through the helmet they're wearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he's like, "See ya, Batman."
And he puts like the Flash on a Mobius strip for just a second to build up enough speed to launch him far away.
Well, one of the things I like about that is that the Mobius strip is like kind of like an aesthetically appealing loop to look at, whereas like a circle or like would have worked just as fine, but it will look dumb seeing the Flash just running in circles. Whereas like the Mobius strip, since he's going from like one side to the other side, it's like, confusing him more.
Yeah, this reminded me when I first read it years ago. I immediately thought of Phil, because when we were kids, Phil would always be like, Green Lantern could be everyone. He could be Superman, make kryptonite, which is what he does here. He makes kryptonite with the ring. And Superman's like, oh shit, it's fucking kryptonite.
It's because even as a kid, I'm like, if you can make anything you can imagine, you literally are like a god. Like, it's so powerful, and he literally just beats. It's not even Green Lantern here. It's just the power of the Green Lantern beating the Justice League. Like, he fights the other Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, and in his flashback, he's like, as long as you have more will to win, like, you would win that fight. And then they're like, what about Superman? And he's like, well, like Sly said, I think I could actually make kryptonite. And in that split second that he hesitates or something.
Yeah, he says deep down Superman's still afraid of kryptonite. So if he sees it, he will hesitate.
Yeah. And you can use that to like fuck with his mind or something.
Yeah, just go into his head and make him picture dead people attacking him.
Like the people he failed.
That like emotionally destroys him.
Yeah, it's funny because he physically beats everyone, but Superman just cries. Also, Plastic Man is just laying as a big plastic noodle this whole time.
Well, because what he does is he launches the Flash on the Mobius strip into Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, and Plastic Man.
Yeah. Also, at least regarding this, I don't want to get into a long discussion about this, but I don't really don't think Batman's the most dangerous one of them all, because I don't think he can think that fast at the rate at which everyone's being attacked. I don't think he's like, oh, I've actually like figured out your weakness.
That's just one of those like fan servicey bullshit things.
Yeah.
But I do want to also point out that by launching Batman with that rocket, it makes Superman go after him and save him.
Yeah,
Superman's
smart.
flying in with Batman like to the
in
fight.
like a chair.
Yeah.
So now after Tom and the kid beat up all the Justice League members, he's like, let's go to Oa, and I got something to do there. But instead, they run into Parallax. And
So this is time travel?
It's okay. So I'm not fully sure what happens here.
Yeah, I don't really know what happens.
I thought they, because he said the green ring can go through time. Like I thought.
Did they go through time though? I thought it was just like an aberration or something of.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Power.
I was wondering if this was actually maybe even Hal's ghost, the Spectre.
No, I took this as like the last thing they have to overcome is Hal's power itself. That his ring created the Parallax. To like as like the internal struggle between Marty and Parallax. That
probably is it.
It's probably because it's more. It's like we're questioning it, but it's never explicitly stated. It's more like a Tom overcoming the evil part of Hal in this scene.
Yeah. Parallax. This Parallax specifically is the evil, non-remorseful or guilt-filled
He calls him like pie face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He starts by being a racist.
Yeah, and he's like, "You've never made the cut. You're a piece of shit." And then Marty, throughout this whole thing, is like, "No, he chose you. Like, he wanted you to be the next Green Lantern. Don't listen to this piece of shit."
Yeah.
Yeah, and because Hal wanted Tom to be successor because his youthful innocence believed in the dream more than Hal did. Like whenever Hal wavered, like we mentioned those scenes where Hal didn't want to save all those people, and Tom's like, "You have to save them because that's what you do. You're Green Lantern. You save people." And so Tom was more like faithful to what a hero should be than Hal was a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So as Tom's making his realization, and he's having flashbacks to when Parallax is flying towards when Hal was flying towards Oa to kill everyone in the past during Emerald Twilight. He was always wondering, like, why didn't Hal see me? Why didn't Hal see me?
Yeah, that's why he's so bitter from the beginning. He's like, he never even said goodbye or anything to me, and I was like there for him for the
big thing is after Coast City got destroyed, he's like, why didn't Hal look for me?
Yeah, and the real reason why, in writing terms, was most writers probably forgot it existed this time.
Because this is the first day that I knew Tom existed, where I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like, "He's my best friend." I'm like, "I guess so."
Yeah, but he was a long-lasting character. Like, it was bullshit the writers forgot about him just because they didn't like him or whatever.
He almost became a Guardian.
Yeah. So what happened was Hal, they explained that Hal didn't go to see Tom because he knew Tom would change his mind because Tom was always his conscience basically. So, and Hal really wanted to get revenge for Coast City.
He goes to his house and just watches, but he's like, I can't. Yeah, like so I said, I can't talk to him because
it's the ring shows him the image of the house.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's like, you might save him, and if he hears your words, looks into your eyes, he may not be able to leave. Like, he won't be able to go do what he thinks he needs to do if he talks to you.
Yeah, so then
which I think this is a great scene. Okay,
yeah, I think it's a beautiful scene.
I get the reluctance because it is all just retconning bullshit. But like Sly always says, if you can take a dumb, stupid thing from 30 years ago and turn it into something beautiful now, shouldn't we appreciate its beauty now?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
But Tom, like visualization, takes the lantern, he strips Parallax of all his power. Now he looks like Hal and without his mask on. And he basically starts acting sentimental to Hal, saying like, he starts talking to him, saying I was angry at you, but you did give me. I hate what you became, but you gave me something to believe in. So and he hugs the vision of Hal, and they go with Kilowog, who now mellowed out a bit, and Tom goes to Oa now with Parallax no longer bugging him, and he reforms Oa as it was.
He's with this demon thing too, and the demon's like, I think I'm supposed to kill you.
It's just like, okay.
Well, he says, he's like, can you just let me do one thing, and if it doesn't work, you can kill me.
You can shish kebab us both, he says.
Yeah. And then after Oa reformed, he gives the ring to Kilowog, and Kilowog is like, does this mean the Green Lanterns are back? And Tom's like, yeah, and Kilowog flies off the ring, be like, woohoo!
And it's cool. It's Tom remaking. While crying, remaking Oa, giving the Green Lantern oath that he always wanted to be part of this. You know, it's really.
And he remade the Green Lanterns, and finally it ends with him hugging Marty goodbye, and on Earth he meets Hal as a Spectre. They confirm it's a Spectre because he turns into a Spectre before he teleports away. But I
was so confused about that.
Yeah. But this is the actual Ghost of Hal, and Hal hugs Tom before Tom goes to rejoin his family.
One thing I appreciate about this is even though like Green Lantern as like the Spectre and everything is kind of a complicated comics thing right now, the story itself barely it references it enough, but it really doesn't hinge on it at all.
I didn't know and I didn't care that much.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's easy to just look past it.
I feel like this is more of an emotional based story where you're trying to capture emotion rather than trying to think about the logical way things work. And that might be a turn off for Darryl, but I think I like it. I really like it.
Well, anyway, so how does the story actually end?
And as I said, Tommy joins his family after hugging the real Hal goodbye.
Yeah, it's nice. The kids are in the house saying, "Oh, I broke it. It was an accident." And then he walks in and says, "Don't worry, Daddy can fix that."
Yeah, it's a nice.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Makes me feel good.
So, Darryl, what's your final critique?
I don't like this story, and I messaged to them that I think this is one of the worst comics I read this year.
You still feel that way?
I'm gonna add an addendum. I don't think it's the worst. It's one of my least favorite that I've read this year.
That's really
you guys made. I rarely, unless you really like stupid shit. But even then, I like Nemesis.
Oh, if you're an idiot and you like dumb stuff.
How
and
is
you
this stupider than?
No, I'm not calling this stupid. The problem is this doesn't hit the notes that I want it to hit, and it goes off into too much magic territory, and I feel like its ultimate catharsis isn't good. That the idea that the child or the ring came to Tom to reconstruct Oa is really it feels like it cheapens Tom's experience, where like I got into this because I'm like, oh, Tom was his best friend and now he's crippled by despair and alcoholism at this idea of not only losing Hal but having to come to grips with what Hal was. And when he meets the illegitimate son, it's like he has to explain to him Hal's life and everything. I was totally on board for that kind of stuff. It's like he needs to tell his son what Hal is and what he's done and everything, and through that device he'll come to understand Hal better himself and grapple with it. But instead, the story actually it keeps changing. Like, it introduces the thing that's hunting them. I'm like, okay, there could be a good reason why this thing's going around. Instead, it's just the spirit of vengeance. And then the kid's revealed to be just the ring's will. So it's like not even his son. It's just like it's part of Hal, but not Hal. But like it embodies the Green Lantern.
It's the good stuff in Hal.
Yeah, it's just
then Parallax shows up and he has to like it just feels like too many contrivances to try and push like a big fight where I wanted a smaller story, like how Hal was going through the first issue we read where he recreates Coast City and everything, where it's like that feels like it makes sense within that world, and I like the emotional points it hits. Whereas here, this is that it culminates in the creation of Oa and giving Kilowog a ring, and then suddenly, like, that's him understanding more about the Green Lanterns. I just didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
And the fact that it ends on such a positive note, and that he gets to see Hal again, like, I feel like comics have a real difficult issue grappling with portraying loss and showing how difficult it is to overcome stuff like that, like alcoholism, like depression, like one of your friends betraying you. It really doesn't portray it, like it goes too far in one direction of like everything's okay, or like everything was all right with what you are now. Whereas like I really like
he says at the end, I hate you, Hal, but you did give me something to believe in. Like he says, like I still hate you,
yeah,
but you gave me something to believe in, so I have to appreciate what you gave me. Like he says, like I still hate you. He doesn't say I love you, Hal.
That's true.
I kind of wish Hal wasn't.
Yeah,
I wish he was still dead. Like I do agree with that part where like I think he can still fight with the bad of Hal and Parallax in that weird Parallax thing, and the good of Hal in the Marty character, but like you don't need to actually bring Hal back for that. Like
the problem is like Hal's right back at this time. Like Hal came back 2 years before this, and if you had to,
this came out before Hal was revived.
No. I mean Hal came back as Spectre.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
2 years before this, and if they didn't have Hal, comic fans would just be like, the story sucks, where's Hal? Like, there's no Hal at all, he's not part of it at all, the story sucks. So, like, it might suck for us, but, like, if they didn't acknowledge it at all, people at the time would have just been pissed off. So, you know, you can't win.
Yeah, it's always the difficulty of, like, I would have liked a more nuanced and, like, combat less. Like, as fun as the Justice League stuff was with them.
That's the only big fight, really.
It's no big fight.
But there is this constant guy showing up and like slashing at everybody all the time.
Yeah, and also the Justice League stuff. Like I was trying to reconcile. It's like why wouldn't Tom give him the ring? Like these guys are good guys. We know they're good guys. Like we're on their side. And then when the fight, like to protect the ring comes, it really feels like it was put in there specifically for like, what if Hal Jordan fought the Justice League? Could he like beat them as a Green Lantern instead of Parallax? Like, it felt like it was exercising those kind of muscles rather than trying to tell a story that made sense with, like, why wouldn't he use them to help him decide what to do with Marty?
Because Marty says, like, he doesn't want to do it. He says, like, the Justice League all look like they're judging him. And I think it's referencing the fact that they all view him as another extension of Hal. They all talk down to him.
They also don't even wait. Like, it's not like they start talking to him and then immediately it seems like Flash just runs at him. Like, it seems like it's a defensive thing where the first thing that happens is Superman's talking to him, Flash is charging him, and then he grabs Marty and then makes the bubble, and then it like escalates.
Yeah, they all judge him as because of Hal, I think. And the point is, like, Marty doesn't want to deal with that shit while he's trying to carry out Hal's wishes when you have all these fucking heroes just trying to fucking take control of the situation just because they don't trust Hal.
I definitely understand where Darryl's coming from, though. I think this is one of my favorite Green Lantern stories, but I understand when they're doing such a, like, unexpected superhero story of, like, what happens to the sidekick who, like, was optimistic about it, and, like, he lost his job, he lost his family, he's an alcoholic, and then that does get pushed to the side for the superheroics, for the tropes and stuff. And I still really like it because I think it stands out more in superhero comics than it does in comics in general. But I definitely understand, like, it gets into the territory of, like, the indie books that Darryl and I love and cry over all the time. But it doesn't go all the way. And the resolution is a superhero resolution, not
I disagree. I completely disagree. I completely disagree with both of you because the superhero fight starts, Kilowog and Parasaur fight, and then you start ignoring it and focus on Tom.
That's true. That is true.
Like,
I mean, that's after he fights the entire Justice League, though.
But that's two pages, you know.
Every Kilowog appearance is really fast, really brief. I think they did just.
He slashes once to keep them moving, and then they teleport somewhere that means something to Tom. Like it's 100. It's 106 pages.
Kilowog's only there to to make a threat that they have to. They can't just stay in one place. They have to keep moving, like Phil said. It's not like they stop for a fight scene every couple pages. Kilowog shows up, they have to move again, and Kilowog shows up, they have to move again. That's all it really does in story.
And especially in a graphic novel where you have the pages and the time to do more action, the fact that most of the fight scenes are only a page or two is, I think that gives.
It's over 100 pages, this comic, and there's very little of it is actually fighting.
Yeah,
and like, I don't know.
Fighting's not like my only problem with it, though. Like, I can concede on that point where it's like, you're right that it is a minimal part of the story. But I just don't like where it goes with Tom, especially that it does feel very hero-focused, where it's like, you know, how you said that no one believed in Tom except Hal. Then at the end, he ends up creating the entire world of Oa again, based on, like, his own inner strength, rather than the story being about, like, what do the heroes on the sidelines that try and morally align the actual action doers, like, what is their life like, what is their importance? Because it's important, like, how you brought up that, like, Hal couldn't go see Tom because he would have been swayed. It's like, that's really cool. That is an important thing to point out, that Tom has that influence over him, that it's like, he is an integral part of Hal's life, because he could do something like that to him. Where I like that the non-action stuff regarding the sidekicks, about the way they make them better, the heroes.
I think that's what the story's about. I think that's the title of the story's about. What Tom meant to Hal. I think that's why this is one of my favorite stories we've done for the show.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'll have to think.
We can go on forever on this.
Yeah.
I'm not like Ryan. I'm like Ryan's like, I can see where you're coming from. I don't see where you're coming from at all, Darryl. So
No?
I completely agree with everything.
I kind of don't either. I'm trying
Really?
to, but I think this is such a great, like, a beautiful story. It's hard.
It's
I
beautiful.
can get the few of the points. Like, it is superhero-y, but it's like a superhero comic. Like, of course it is. It's not even that superhero-y for
No, it's not. Especially for a time.
for a Green Lantern comic. I'm like,
Yeah.
There was actually not that much Green Lanterning happening. It's very much of him talking with this kid who ends up being a magical thing, but it's the discussion that matters.
I mean,
really.
that's...
I think we go forever on this. I don't think we're going to change anyone's mind.
I mean, we're allowed to disagree on a thing.
Yeah, we're allowed to.
okay.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We can't. We have to vote until it gets voted off.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. Are we done?
Yeah. We said our pieces.
But, yeah. So, thank you guys for listening. While you're hanging out and finishing up this episode, you should go on iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to us. It helps a lot. And also on ComradeRadio.com, I just did a Thanksgiving episode with Helen from Falling in Love Montage about all the things we're grateful for. And it's really sappy and great, so you should check that out.
So, thank you all for listening. I've been a pink alien tortured in hell for giving Hal a ring.
I've been a pizza face.
I've been a noodly plastic man.
And I'm Pharaoh, flying into the sun.
Staying continuity.